City of Minnetrista. I'm going to first ask that you join me in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome everyone that's here and today, as well as watching later on YouTube. Just a reminder, everyone, if you have cell phones with you, put them on silent or airplane mode. And I'm going to start out with introductions. Here this evening with us, we have on the end, we have our city assistant administrator, Paula Bauman, and then we have Allison Fauski, who is our city engineer with WSB. Then we have council members, Brian Govern, Kathleen Refkin, I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor, and next to me I have Jasper Krugel, who is our city administrator, Brian Grimm is our finance director, and Craig Squires is our public safety director, chief of police. You have many titles. So, and then I think we have a couple who are joining us remotely. Do you know?
We have City Clerk Ann Meyerhoff, City Attorney Sarah Sensala, Public Works Director Gary Peters, and Community Development Director David Abel. Okay, so welcome everyone. We have a slight change to our agenda. We have Senator Ann Jensen Stewart with us this evening, so I'd like to ask that we add her under 2 as A, so she can give her presentation and answer our questions and then be on her way.
Does someone want to hear Brian's financial update?
She's welcome to stay. I think she has better things to do. Having said that, is there a motion to approve the agenda with that one change?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 3-0. So, welcome, Senator Ann Jensen Stewart. Welcome. Thank you for coming, especially on last notice.
Thank you, Mayor, and hello, council members. It's so nice to be here. I was just talking to Jasper, and he said, you didn't have to come. I'm like, well, if I can, I will. And it was on my calendar. I had canceled a couple months ago or weeks ago. We're still in the middle of session right now, so every day is somewhat unpredictable. We had Transportation Committee until 5:20, and I jumped in my car. Turns out it takes 62 minutes to get here. So I'm happy to come. And I've already been warned that there might be some questions around a specific topic, so I typically wouldn't even need my computer up, but I wanted to give you an update on any of those things that you asked me about. So, Mayor, do you just want me to give like a short update on what's going on?
If you want to do that, and then we'll ask our questions.
All right. So we are deep into session right now. For those of you that don't know, this is a policy year, but we've gotten a little bit off of the routine where we had a policy year in the even years and a bonding, with a bonding bill, and then a budget year in all of the odd years. We are in the middle of an even year, but we've transitioned more into having a bonding bill every single year. And frankly, as somebody who's deep in the bonding bill committee and somebody who's been working with both House Democrats and Republicans, but also Senate Republicans and of course Democrats, which is the committee the party that I belong to, we have been working on bonding since beginning of the session. So I anticipate we'll have a bonding bill, and I know that's one of the things that may come up with a question, so that's why I'm prepared. We have in the legislature something called first, second, and third deadline. So if a bill does have any financial components to it, it should have been heard by March 25th or whatever that Friday was. We passed first and second deadline, and then last Friday was we passed first and second deadline. Last Friday was third deadline, which means that if you're following any bills and they had a financial component to them, they should have gone through all of their committee stops by last Friday. We also allow, though, for some special allowances. For example, I have the Medicaid fraud bill that I'm working on with the Attorney General, and that bill is quite complicated and needs to go through many, many committees. So we had permission from what we call the Rules Committee to be heard as a late bill, and so this week we'll finish up our hearings on that. So there are some bills that are still making their way through that do have financial implications, and so generally speaking, we're starting to wrap up with any committee hearings, but we will, again, have many that don't have any financial components. So today we had a full day in Senate Transportation. We have lots and lots of bills that we're still hearing in all of our committees. As long as they don't have a financial component, we can hear them all the way up until it's reasonable to get them on the floor. We've also started to have heavy floor sessions, so that means now between now and May 18th, when we have to adjourn, we will be on the floor, we call it, when we're hearing bills that have passed through committees and have come over from the House. So today we heard, I think we had 5 bills pass, including one of mine, which has to do with the medical examiner appointment in Hennepin County. Did you know that Hennepin County is the only county that the county board is not allowed to appoint their medical examiner? So we had to fix that because the state law outlined or specified that certain agencies had to provide a representative to what we call the Hennepin County Medical Examiner Board, and many of those agencies actually didn't even exist anymore. So that was the second of my bills to pass off the floor. The other one is really important, and I tell everybody I know about it. It was the school bus stop arm bill, and now the governor did sign that into law. Now we just need to get out the word to all drivers that as you approach a school bus, if you see red lights flashing, it doesn't matter where the stop arm is, approaching vehicles must stop. So that's a quick update. Right now, we're really spending a lot of our time on the floor, we call it. We could have floor sessions that run for many, many hours, depending on how much debate there is, but we're pretty much wrapping up the session.
Okay, so there's a few things. We'll talk about bonding a little bit, FMLA, housing, maybe a little bit about transportation and fraud. Okay. So that's kind of a lot. So first of all, do you have any idea in terms of the amount of the bonding, if there is a bonding bill, any indication yet?
We do, actually, we know a lot.
Okay.
So the governor proposed not as much as we wanted last year, if you remember. I should have my note. I want you all to be impressed that I'm telling you all of this without any notes in front of me. Last year, remember, we were not allowed any local projects, and we had a bonding bill that was, I can't remember, Lisa, I'm a little embarrassed, but we were promised this year a much bigger bonding bill. And so when the governor came to us with 900 million, we were a little miffed, frankly. And actually, I think by the time he came to us with his list of projects, it was more in the 700-800 million list, or million neighborhood. Yeah. The House is putting together their bonding bill. And this is one area where I'm pleased to tell you that both parties work together really well. I mean, I've been involved in almost every meeting. So the House Democrats and the House Republicans will come to us in the Senate. State law requires that the bonding bill originate in the House, and they want it to be $1.4 billion, which still, in my opinion, is not enough, but it's a lot more. It's 50% more than the governor proposed. And of that, we have a certain amount that we've kind of are required to award as a group, both Senate and House, both Republicans and Democrats, to award to asset preservation for those things that the state of Minnesota is required to.
What does that leave for cities?
Well,
how about that?
There's two buckets of money that the cities can access. One of them is PFA, which I know many of our surrounding cities have access through the drinking water and the wastewater, drinking water and I don't know that they call it wastewater fund, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Clean water and clean water.
Clean water drinking.
Yeah. And then once we get to the final amount, and hopefully we'll have at least 100 million for local governments, we will split that between the 4 caucuses. And so I know that Minnetrista is on my list of priorities. We have 15 cities in this Senate district, and not everyone has asked for a bonding allocation. Minnetrista, of course, has, and you guys know that very well. Jasper, by the way, has been really helpful with me on providing information to the rest of the bonding committee on how much every single city in the area pays for water, and we really appreciate the work he's done there. Mound has asked for money, Spring Park, Excelsior, I'm trying to think, really the highest priority, frankly. And by the way, anybody watching, if I didn't name you, it doesn't mean anything, but I know for sure Minnetrista is on my priority list. The focus for our community, or our caucus, will be on water.
And water. Okay.
And so you guys are high priority. I would tell you that I'm happy to receive hundreds of letters from Minnetrista residents. And by the way, I would encourage you to send those letters also to Andrew Myers.
Yeah.
You guys are somewhat lucky. Again, I realize I'm on camera right now, so everything I say I'm comfortable with being a public statement, but we're somewhat lucky in a few communities. There's not many where you have a Republican and a Democrat as a representative. You have a senator that's a Democrat, that's me. You have a Republican House member, that's Andrew, and he brings a different leverage power than I do. And we should leverage that in these communities. Excelsior, the ones I named before, Excelsior, Mound, Minnetrista, Spring Park. There's a couple, and again, if I don't name you, it's just because I don't have my notes in front of me. But to be sure, you should all be telling your residents to put a lot of pressure on me and on Andrew to bring back bonding dollars, because not everybody has that same kind of leverage wherein you have two parties represented at the table.
And Andrew has been very helpful too. So we appreciate your help and Andrew's, and we realize we need both. So that's.
You need both of us, and you should get both of us bringing you something, and it shouldn't double count.
Okay.
You know, if we don't get, I'm just saying that. Don't let us take credit for each other's accomplishments.
Then another question. I understand that the housing bill is dead for this time, and so we'll have to keep tabs on it for next year. And then again, working together to maybe, if something has to happen, working together to see what could be palatable. But we definitely want local control over local issues. It has to be. And I just recently saw an article about outstate shortages, housing shortages. I understand that, but one shoe does not fit all. So one size does not fit all. So that's, I won't go into that. The transportation, you said you're on the transportation, but we just had MnDOT here during our work session telling us that they need a lot more money. And I was down at the Capitol a couple weeks ago asking people for more money from MnDOT so that they can implement the safety things that they need on Highway 7. So if you've heard of any of that or can promote that, and 11 million is not enough, they can do more. I mean, they need more, so.
Yeah, so Lisa, I'm sorry, Merrick, if I could interrupt you just briefly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on Wednesday, we are having a hearing with all the trunk highway requests. The Highway 7 one is one of them. And so Senator Coleman and I have jointly sponsored that bill. And so we will be hearing that bill on Wednesday.
Yes. And I was asked if I could go down, and I'm not sure, there's two things going on that day, so I'll see.
Mayor, I'm going to let you off the hook. I think you'll be well represented. I'm vice chair of that committee, so.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay if you
All
don't.
right, yeah, my chauffeur is absent, no, just kidding.
Actually, yeah, that's really the only priority that we have in the Senate district for trunk highway money, so it will get the attention it deserves. Senator Swadzinski is not on the committee, but both Senator Coleman and I are. And so I think it will be well heard and rise to the top of. I'm not sure how much trunk highway bonds will come out of the capital investment project, budget. So when I said before we have 1.4 billion for capital investment or for bonding, that includes anything that we allocate towards trunk highway bonds.
Right.
And so I have, there's many different ways to think about that and to look at it. I know for sure that Senator Dibble, who's the chair of the Transportation Committee, he for sure has not decided how much trunk highway bonds he's going to be allocating, but I'll for sure keep you posted on that.
Okay. And then FMLA, it's kind of a boondoggle and it needs some attention because And just one small, little, tiny part of that is even city council members have to pay into it, and yet we can't, there's no way we can take advantage of it, nor would we, or most people wouldn't. But that's just one of the glitches. And I know there's other communities out there, small communities, where it really might really be hurtful, and then small businesses. And so I know this year, I've mentioned it to Andrew Myers, and he's like, yeah, nothing's going to happen this year. But I really think both House and Senate need to take a look at that to see what they can do to fix this, because it's a huge financial burden on cities as well as small businesses. So I'm just putting that out there, fuel for thought. And then lastly, I won't keep you longer than we have to. Obviously, Councilmember Refkin would like to ask you about the fraud, but do you have any specific question?
What bills are you sponsoring to address the fraud and make sure it doesn't happen again?
So we have a whole list of fraud bills that I can talk about, but specifically I'm chief author of the Medicaid fraud bill, and that is a really important one because a significant amount of the fraud that we saw last time went through Department of Health and Human Services. So the Medicaid, and I'll talk about this briefly, and then if you have any other questions. So I've been working with the Attorney General. The federal government has told us that our fraud unit, our Medicaid fraud control unit, we call it MFUCU, it's kind of funny, is a group within the Attorney General's office that is the only group that's authorized to investigate fraud in this area. So the way it works is the individual departments are not the fraud investigators. They report the fraud to the Attorney General. And so the Attorney General's office was told by the federal government they didn't have enough investigators. So we are requesting 18 more staff, but we cannot do that without the funds. And so it's my I am the chief author, and at least in the Senate, we have secured the funding for them to hire 18 staff. What happens with Medicaid fraud and with fraud through Department of Health Human Services is the federal government believes in it so strongly that they match 3 to 1. So if we spend $1, they give us 3 to hire this full group of 18. So I feel, you never say sure in government, but I feel pretty good about the fact that we're going to be able to fund this additional staff. Those lawyers and those staff members, because of federal controls, they can't do anything other than Medicaid fraud, mostly because they're paid for, 3/4 of their salary is paid for by the federal government. The other thing that they're doing, though, so there's a financial piece of that bill, that's my bill, but then there's a policy piece which has expanded the definition of fraud. In Minnesota currently, if we don't get this bill, it will stay this way. It is cheap, it is a better deal for a fraudster to commit fraud against the government than it is to commit fraud against anybody else. So for example, if I decide to swindle Lisa or the mayor out of $1 million, I would have much more penalty and much higher fines if I'm found guilty than if I swindle the state of Minnesota out of $1 million. So what we did was we wrote into the policy portion of the bill that a fraudster pays just as much and goes to jail for just as long, whether they're committing fraud against the state government or they're committing fraud against a human or a city government, et cetera. So it's both a policy and a funding bill, but frankly, without this bill passing, the MFUCU, the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, will continue to work. They just will be understaffed and understaffed and overworked. That's one of the problems and one of the reasons that we saw fraud. We're also trying, so that's my bill, so I'm happy to answer questions about that. But we're also trying to get money to upgrade some of the IT, which is, back from the days I was in college, really hard to spot fraud, really hard to identify when these sham companies set up, 6 companies under 6 similar names at one address. You would think that would be easy enough to figure out, but those are some of the reasons that fraud was committed. And we've also tightened controls on who can and how people who can work in these investigative units, how our county employees and state employees are trained to spot fraud. But I'm not as familiar with those bills, but I do have them pulled up in case you're asking about it.
What are the odds of any of these passing?
Well, my Medicaid fraud bill, I think, will pass. We have a hearing Wednesday in Human Services, and then we've been, we do our work to make sure that every committee member is up to date. And I mean, that's me working with Republicans as well as Democrats. I feel strongly that that's going to pass through, and then it only has to go to finance, and then it's done. So it's already gone through 4 committees. I think the Medicaid fraud bill will probably be the one that gets through, and that's one that I feel is probably the most significant.
I know that when we were at the LMC City on the Hill Day, that it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were there too, it seemed bipartisan that both parties want to address the fraud and how to prevent it from happening again. So it seems, you would think that all of these bills that you mentioned would have an easy pass. I mean,
well, yes, in the Senate, Councilperson Rufkin, trying to make sure I don't use the wrong word here. It is a little different. You're asking me as senator, and in the Senate, we do have much better chances of getting bills passed. For example, I sat down with Senator Rasmussen, Senator Gruenhagen, Senator Utke, all Republicans, making sure they understand the bill, and we accept amendments from them. Do you guys know right next door we have Senator Holmstrom, a brand new senator. He brought an amendment that I felt made the bill better, and we accept that. In the Senate, we have a little bit different ways to work, and we do have a majority. So when I say that I think the bill will pass, frankly, the odds are stacked against us by a 1-seat majority, but I feel like it will pass through the Senate. In the House, it's funny, they passed through the policy very easily, but they got hung up on the amount of money. Now, what will happen after both of them get through the floor, they'll have to agree. And so they'll take provisions from the House bill, they'll take provisions from the Senate bill, but if my bill passes through intact, even though it's been amended by Senator Holmstrom and others, there's a chance that that bill could go forward. But Mayor, it is very difficult on the House side because they're tied.
They're tied.
This thing around county IT, that's been a very bipartisan thing because, it's the rural counties who are represented mostly by Republicans who are desperate for upgrades to their IT. I mean, people anywhere in Minnesota should be able to qualify and get benefits and get reimbursements for personal care attendants or whatever, but they're having it even the hardest time because they have the most antiquated system. So I would guess that those kinds of things will pass as well. I don't know, though.
Is there a sister bill to your version in the House? Or?
Yes. So it's being carried by Representative Norris. And like I said, that one went through, there's 2 parts of the bill, policy and funding. And the policy part went through without even the amendments. I mentioned one amendment from Senator Holmstrom, who's right next door. Their bill went through without that amendment, but I feel strongly that his amendment will stay on for the final version. But in a tied, I think they call it Ways and Means over there. I'm not sure what the committee is called. They were not able to pass through the $1.2 million required to fund the 18 staff members. So it's a little bit different, but once they get to conference, they'll have to, that's not my area, I don't sit on, that went through what's called state and local government. And while I'm on that committee, I'm not in leadership there, so I won't be able to negotiate the final bill.
Does your bill address going back and charging people that have been found of fraud? Does it address the statute of limitations, or is it just all going forward?
No, it's a really good bill. It not only addresses that, it also, well, the Mafuku unit, I have the data, and if you email me, I would be happy to send you it. The Mafuku, Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, has, they have recovered millions and millions of dollars in fraud reimbursements. And that money, by law, has to go back to Department of Human Services. There actually was an amendment to try to get that money to come to the Attorney General's office to fund their work so that we didn't have to fund it, but that's illegal based on federal statute. So there are provisions to claw back money, and they have been really successful at clawing back the money. And then the other thing that my bill does, I mentioned, raising, there's now this thing where if you, there's different levels of fraud that they didn't have before, making it, as I said, just as expensive to commit fraud against the state as it is to commit fraud against another person, just as punitive. But then the other thing that they did is the other thing that we did, if the bill passes, which I think it will, is they allow for aggregation. What that means is if you commit one instance of fraud, the Attorney General had to charge you with that one instance, even if on one day you might have done 20 different, submitted 20 different reimbursements, or in a month you submitted 60 reimbursements. Now what we will allow the Attorney General unit to do is what's called aggregate. So if you're the fraudster, you get charged, but you've got, 100 counts of fraud within this one charge, and then that just makes it more efficient. And it also means that that money from that clawback is, categorized as one case. It's just better for managing it and for tracking it. So, and then I hate to bore you, but there's one other thing. It also, something that's really important is, believe it or not, there are some people who defraud the government who didn't mean to do it. They submit an error or they turn in a reimbursement twice. A lot of the money that people get back through this, a lot of our human services are for things like, they have a child who's disabled and they might submit a reimbursement for their wheelchair twice by accident. Absolutely 100%, I'm sure this happens. And so we added to the statute this intent to defraud, so that if somebody accidentally submits something or, has a math error or something, that the Attorney General's office is not able to actually charge them. They have to prove an intent, because we don't want people who are tired, weary caregivers, who accidentally submit a reimbursement for something twice or 10 times, whatever. But they have to demonstrate an intent, which I think is really important.
Or typo
Wouldn't that
error.
open it to pending the intent, like you just said, 10 times? Wouldn't that force you to have to prove intent when clearly it was maliciously done? I mean, what's the...
No, because now, remember, with the aggregation, the Attorney General's office would look at, Brian Govern has submitted these forms, and, he submitted something twice, or he submitted, 10 would be outrageous, but he submitted twice, and then he has this, they look at that. Remember when I said they aggregate it? So they would look at, well, what is Brian doing here? And they would look at that and they'd say, no, there is no intent here. They're obviously gonna
Make you pay back
they're not gonna reimburse you for it, but they're gonna interview the Minnesota Attorney General's Medicaid Fraud Control Unit is one of the best in the country. They have the best record for clawing back claims. They have the best record for accuracy and for doing really good work. So I think the intent part is actually really important. I don't have the data to show how many people who are erroneously charged. I don't think it's a lot, but we want to make sure that people who don't intend to defraud the government aren't getting charged, because that takes up resources too. So that's not a big part of their work, but it is an important thing to acknowledge. So.
Okay. Well, any other questions?
Yeah, if anybody wants data on this or has questions, I have all of it. I came straight from the Capitol, so I didn't really bring a handout, but I'm happy to give it to you.
Okay. I think we're good. Thank you very much, and really appreciate you coming on last note.
Yeah, well, I will come out
notice.
anytime. This might be the last time you get me this session.
Okay.
Pretty soon, we're going to be meeting into the evening. But do reach out with any questions. I feel like we can be really responsive with those things once we have data in front of us.
Yeah.
So thanks, Mayor, for letting me sneak in. And I'm
you.
heading home to
Anytime.
have dinner with my husband, so.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Senator.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, we're going to do the very, interesting, fun thing of our first quarter financial update.
Yes. Thank you. Yep. So yeah, Madam Mayor and Council. So yeah, this is just the first 3 months of the year, so it's usually pretty benign or pretty tame, I guess, or however you want to look at it or label it. So as the memo states, the revenues until we get our first quarter, our first half taxes in is going to be down in that pretty low range. The one thing probably to highlight there is you can see our building permit revenue, which we brought way down because at some point we're going to probably not have current lots. It's, or whenever we reach that point. So we're actually sitting pretty well there at, like 73%, I think, or something. So, but I don't see that keep going to, unless there's something I don't know about, to 600,000-700,000, we probably end up in that 300,000-400,000 like we budgeted. Otherwise, on the expenditure side, we're about at that quarter, 26%. Some things we've paid the full year for property insurance and a couple of quarters of the fire contracts already. So I think we're sitting fine for the expenditures there. Our current cash and investment is a little lower than it's been in previous years at this time, just with some of our, that's where we're actually, Mr. Hagen's here in the audience. Well, that'll bump up a little bit with our bonding for our, for our summer projects we have going on. Otherwise, I guess, yeah, if there's any questions on the report, I did note on the memo too, we'll have the audited report for 2025, the final financial numbers there at the May 18th meeting, so.
The May 18th? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. No, I saw the revenues for permits, and I thought that's really good. But again, like you said, depending on how many lots we have available, and we'll see how it ends up this year. Yeah. Do we expect, or have you talked to David at all, or maybe David, you can answer, do we expect any building permits from the two potential developments that are on the horizon, the Acrati and the Bowl? Do you know? Do we expect any permits coming through?
I can answer for him if he, not in 2026.
Okay.
We're,
so more like 27?
Yeah, 27 for the Bowl and then potentially 28 for the Acrati.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have questions or comments?
No, it looks good. Snow removal equipment was already over budget. Did something break or we just didn't budget enough?
Oh, within the snow ice department or whatever?
Did somebody break a shovel? Or a plow?
There might have been some repairs and maintenance there. Yeah, Gary probably would be able to speak best to that. But the nice thing, at least overall, we're still sitting, I think we spent about 80,000, and we should be through this part of the winter. And then as long as it doesn't kick in too much, too early for November, December, we should actually still sit pretty well there. But I'm guessing there was some, like a repair or something that happened that we needed there or whatever, so.
And then just a couple of the dues and subscriptions, they're like we're at like 85% or like 60%. Is that normal for this time of the year, or are people just signing up for more classes and more continuing education stuff than normal?
I know it usually ebbs where it's obviously this annual memberships and stuff are paid in the first part. I'd have to look a little deeper as far as if we're maybe doing a little more training or where we're sitting, I guess, compared to last year's percentage or whatever. But usually there's a lot of things that are, I don't know, whether it's police or whatever, that the you pay pretty much around the first of the year for the annual membership or whatever.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, good. Thank you, Brian. And that concludes our financial update. And then we'll move on to our consent agenda items. Are there any?
Can I just one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
When do we need to talk about what's going on with the cable fund? Or is that going to be on a work session, or is that like coming, because I mean,
and I think I noted on the, either on that notes to the cash report or whatever. So it probably just needs to be folded into the general fund. I think the cable fund's probably ran its course and done, obviously franchise fees keep going down. So we've always funded some salaries and obviously paid for some things out of that cable fund that were related to some either technology or council chamber improvements, or obviously the big broadband project was the main goal or main thing we were able to, initiative we were able to complete with it. But I think as even just from an administrative side, it might just, we just went through the audit, and then because the fund is negative and they looked at that closer and pulled, just a lot of different things. It makes sense probably just to be closed into the general fund if the city council is fine with that, or versus having a fund run that, where the franchise fees just keep going lower and lower.
Lower and lower.
Quarter,
yeah.
So. But yeah, I think we'll do that in 2026. Then
Yeah.
just fold that fund off the books
Okay.
into the general fund. So. No.
Good. All right, so anything else? Otherwise, okay. Consent agenda items, any you need to remove? Otherwise, okay. So consent agenda includes A, approve our work session meeting minutes from April 6th, 2026. B is approve our city council regular meeting minutes from April 6th, 2026. C is approve claims. D is approve our 2026 arbitrage services consulting agreement. E is approve early termination of Ag Preserve for 9500 County Road 15 as requested by Craig Schmidt. And F is award the equipment CIP purchase of asphalt roller replacement. G is accept and award the quote for the spray lining of 2 stormwater catch basin structures. And H is accept and award the quote for the spray lining of 7 sanitary sewer manhole structures. And I is approve plans and specifications authorizing ad for bid on the 2026 pavement maintenance projects. And then J is approve a replacement of the police squads 70 and 79. And I think you had some more details on those in front of you at your place. Any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve A through J?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Brian, see? Too many Brians. Brian Govern. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. So we have no public hearings, but we have a business item. And I believe Mr. Todd Hagen, see, I got your name right? I didn't call you Grimm, you know. Todd Grimm. The Grim Reaper? No. All right. No, you have some good news, right? Some good news.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, council members. Thanks for the quorum tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
The 3 showed up. We'll only need two of you to say yes to the bond sale once we get to that resolution that's in your packets. Yep, Todd Hagen from Ellers and Associates. Here to talk about the day of sale report, where we kind of landed today with the bond issue for the street reconstruction, the water project, and the equipment bonds. You do have a sale report in front of you. By the way, it was a great day to sell bonds. Let me start that out. And attached to that's the bid tabulation of the bond issue, final bond numbers, the debt service schedules. I've got the rating report in there that I want to go through before we get to the sort of where the bonds came out at. And there's a BBI graph, 30-year graph of the trend, of where the bond market is. And of course, we've got the resolution for you to consider tonight. So if you go to the report right before the graph, the last page is the graph. If you kind of scoot up a couple pages, you've got the rating report from Standard & Poor's. And that a couple weeks ago, we had a conference call with the folks from Standard & Poor's. Brian and Jasper were on the phone, did a great job of answering all their questions. They do give us those ahead of time, which is great. You were last rated in 2024, so it's been a while, but it took about an hour or so. And we gave them all the information we could, audits and the official statement, which is the offering circular. It's got all the great information about the city, focused on your 2024 audit, which they didn't have before, 2025 year end, and the budget for 26, and then what's going on in the city as far as economic development outlook and all that good stuff. So that after we went through everything, right, with those folks, they put it to a credit committee or whatever at their shop, and they came back out with the AA plus stable outlook, right? So that's great. We're holding our own there. And by the way, one of the things that they like is the quarterly budget to actual stuff reports. That's good. That's in the report. So keep it up. That's awesome. The report basically reflected, what we're financing here, right? It's just part of the water treatment facility too, and all of that. And what they look for the water treatment type plant projects as opposed to an equipment project or the street reconstruction type plans, where those are mostly tax levy, paid for by a tax levy and not rates and charges. They do like to see like 3 years of proof or audits, right, that shows that you're already up there with your rates and charges and have the ability to pay it. So the next best thing is the multi-year study, right, and the charges and rates that you've increased already in anticipation of this. And so we try to get that off the grid, so to speak, because this is a general obligation bond rating and not a revenue rating. So I think that helped a lot to have all that legwork done ahead of time. And so, like I say, in lieu of proof that, everything's able to be paid for, the study and able to increase the rates and charges helped out a lot. So I think we got that moved off, which is great. But they're going to keep an eye on all of that as well. So
will that affect next year if we, or, when we do another bond for the other half?
Great question. We mentioned that, right? We've got another half of this or so coming up, and that's the reason why we talk about that as well. So this rating, that's sort of already baked in here too, which is nice. So no surprises from them, I don't think, in any of this. So yeah, that's we want to make sure we mention what's going to happen within a year or two down the road too. Great question. So I mean, just to cut to the chase too, I know just the first kind of the highlights here, it's just, you've got solid economic profile here in Minnetrista, disciplined financial management, right? That's great.
Yes, Brian is very disciplined.
He is. He puts everybody to task. He's good. He answers good questions too. for everything. And continued support, which continues to support the stable outlook basically too. And you do benefit from all the wealth indicators too, which is good. Not everybody has that. And you've got a lot of ongoing economic and residential and commercial development here in Minnetrista. It just adds to your tax base, which is all great. I think if you look at the next page 2 to that rating report, is the bullet points there. The first 3 or so really kind of talk about the same types of thing as basically per capita gross county product, which is like per capita income and all that. And I think that's something new that they've added. It helps communities that score high there, and maybe some greater Minnesota. Smaller cities, not so much, right? So it kind of depends where you are in Minnesota, and it's kind of basically it's kind of purchasing power, right? So that's something new. What can offset that out in the greater Minnesota is just higher reserves, right? Just keep up those reserves higher, and that can sort of offset some of the lower stuff. But you guys are both healthy in both reserves and that per capita as well too. So you keep up your 40% reserves from expenditures. That's great, and that really just talks about what you guys just went through too, those quarterly budget to actual updates and some financial planning. So the upside to the rating to get to maybe a AAA or something, we don't want to set ourselves up for a fall ever. This is a great rating with a lot of things going on here in Minnetrista, so we just have to watch out. Just maintaining that AA plus and stability is great. But what you're in control of is you can always increase your reserves, right, to something astronomical that is no fun to do. But that can help, right, as well.
We've often said we do look at our general fund balance, and we want to keep it healthy. And I've been a little leery lately of having it going a little too low, but we'd like to keep it in the 40 to 45% range, which I've preached that will help.
Yep.
So
and that has, so they're not really balking at that at all. So it's like 6 months, right, or something like that, because we collect taxes every twice a year, right? So, and the other part is just to have maybe more robust, they got that word in here a lot, financial management planning or something like that too. So I think we're doing just fine. And I'll let this go, but what's interesting is just looking at that little Minnetrista credit summary box there. It kind of shows what they're interested in, which is economy, financial performance, reserves, and liquidity management, and debt and liabilities. So institutional framework is number 1, and we're in Minnesota, and GO bonds are the thing to do here, right, to issue, and it's all good and pretty easy to do, pretty simple. shows your total score at 2.16. I think this is out of a score of 1 is the best and 6 is the worst, right? Something like that. And then you can kind of just see your economy is 1, and that goes 3 and 1 and 2.3 and 3.5. You know, debt and liabilities, it's hard to control some of that, right? Because we're kind of moving forward, right? So we just have to do that. So what's in your, I guess what's in your control is management and financial
Reserves.
performance and stuff too.
Yeah.
Just not waffling too much throughout the year and kind of switching to say, hey, we're going to pay for this with cash. And, you know, if you don't have it, right, and or you didn't plan on it. So it's more planned expenditures are okay with those folks as well. So get back to the bond issue, which is kind of fun. And I'm talking a lot, but hey, this is cool. So today we had four purchasers, you know, broker dealer types, setting up on this bond issue, and we ended up getting eight bids. And so if you look at the bid tabulation, we had TD Financial Products in New York was the best bid at 3.7%. So that was like 37 basis points or 0.37% less than our projection, right? So that's all good. They were kind of new to the 4, right? Because we picked up 4 more, right? So TD Financial kind of came in. Baird, who was the second one there, they set up and they bid, and they're second at 3.71. This third one, our Sealess company out of New Jersey, they were new. And Fidelity Capital Markets, they were set up as well. And so then the next one, Piper Sandler was new. We picked them up as the new 4 out of Minneapolis. Hilltop Securities set up and bid. And then Brownstone Investment Group out of New York, they were new to the group, and Oppenheimer was set up as well. So pretty cool to see eight bids and 4. Nobody dropped. Sometimes they drop and they go look at something else. Because there was some activity today, and I know I talked to the mayor a little bit about this too. You know, we did have some bond sales today that were quite large. Aside from yours, Lakeville had $38 million bond issue. Maple Grove had $8 million. North Mankato had $27 million, and Stearns County, which is one of ours, $287 million. It was a sales tax bond for something on their county campus and stuff. So, and yours was over 10 million, and a lot of those, except for Maple Grove, were over 10 million. So those are non-bank qualified bond issues. And I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know why we picked up 4 more, but I would suspect that there was just a lot of activity in the non-bank qualified arena here today. Not a lot of small stuff, a lot of larger stuff. And it sort of had, I think everybody kind of looked at everybody today, which was pretty cool. I think that was a good day to sell the bonds. I'm just kind of guessing, but it sounds good. Yep, other than that, so if you get to the sale day report, yeah, we know what we're financing, all good there, and he talked about the bids. And then just the difference between the low bid and the high bid, just the interest cost difference. I think that's always interesting that we just don't go and negotiate with just one underwriter. I mean, the difference is like $250,000 difference between, you know, the low and the high, and you just never know who's going to be, you know, the winner if you just talk to one. So, you know, you could have been talking to the last one there and by mistake and left some money on the table, right, and all that. So I know you're used to these premium bids. Everybody gets what we call a premium bid. And if you look at the bid tabulation, sort of the coupon rate, the difference between the coupon rate and this reoffering yield is where the premium is generated, right? So, and that premium comes from their customers, like TD Financial's customers, in the form of cash, right? And so we always get too much cash than what we need, and that's what the premium is. I don't want to tell you what Stearns County's was, but yours was like $1,025,000 that we don't need. And what you do is you want to turn around and lower the bond issue by that much, and that basically, in simple terms, I call it kind of burning that yield down to to where that interest rate down to where that yield is basically, because we're paying, yes, 5% right on most of these bonds, but we're paying less bonds, right, with it. So that just brings it down to where the market rate is, which is kind of where that yield is. And that's how we looked at it at the pre-sale, because we don't know, we have no idea how these premiums are going to lay out. So we really sort of just price everything just accordance with that sort of yield type column there, not the coupon rate, right? So yeah, so we decreased your bond issue by $1,025,000, so it's $13,815,000 is what the bond issue was. And again, it was aside from the premium that we got, the underwriter's fee, which is kind of like points on a mortgage, right? So they can take some of it, all of it, or none of it. They took less than what we offered them, so that was part of the decrease, and then the cost of issuance came down as well. It's just everybody kind of settled in this morning. That's when we bid, right at 10:30. That's when they bid. So that's when the rubber hit the road here today, and we did all the calculations and everything to smooth this out. So closing's May 7th. You get all the money at once here, and I know Brian knows what to do with it.
Yes, we're going to invest it.
Already dialing his
Brokers,
people.
right?
I know who it is. And that's what I've got. I didn't want to. I don't have anything else, and the rest of this is just for your information. So yeah, that's how this plays out. We get the bond rating a week or so before, and then we package it up with this offering circular called an official statement, and post it out there, and everybody just comes in and bids on this thing. So I think it was a good bond sale.
Yeah, eight is really good.
It is.
Very
It's,
good.
probably more than we normally see.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, the smaller the bond, the less bids you get, and the larger.
Yeah.
But I think Stearns County got just maybe one more than you or something like that.
Wow.
So, but a whole
Okay.
different group, right? Because it's a lot of cash to be
Yeah.
moving around. So
All right.
yeah.
Any
great.
questions of Todd? Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Lot of good information. Yeah. So we do need to pass the resolution awarding the sale of the general obligation bonds, Series 2026A, in the original aggregate principal of $13,815,000, fixing their form and specifications, directing their execution and delivery, and providing for their payment.
So moved?
Thank you, Mr. Govern. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 3-0.
Well, thanks.
We're looking forward to that huge check. No.
Thanks for the business, and
Electronic.
yeah, you guys are fun to work with. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So Brian, have you done any calculations in terms of if we invest this money, how much we have to pay out, when, how much interest and stuff are we going to then get on our money?
Well, and that's a little bit, but yeah, and then that's some of that why we even do the arbitrage services, because there's
Okay.
even those rules we have to, follow as far as investments over the bond and spend down provisions and all that kind of stuff that Ellers helps us with also. But yeah, there'll definitely obviously be some interest earnings
Okay.
coming in until, obviously.
Can we find that out, or can you do a calculation or whatever? I mean, it'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I could probably
I mean,
run some.
yeah, run some scenarios or whatever.
Yeah.
Our arbitrage group can do that for you. I know you use Corey and those folks with the investment, but
Yeah.
they can put it in a spreadsheet, which would have that spend down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be interesting to see if you'd want, or, yeah,
Yeah, I'll see what
Joel can do, so.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks. Yep.
All right. That concludes that item. Now we have the Trunk Highway 7 Traffic Management Organization grant writing expenditure request. It was for $600.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council. Before you today, this kind of stems from a work session that we had regarding the traffic management organization, and just, I think we anticipated maybe some requests coming for funding for something like a grant writing exercise. In the packet, you can see there's been 2 grants that have been identified: Metropolitan Council's regional solicitation, and then the Highway Safety Improvement Program. So the group is requesting a total of $15,300. From Minnetrista is $600. You can see on the table in the packet kind of the breakdown. of this. And really, this is to help supplement the $11 million request that we have for bonding. If we don't get 11 million, let's say we get $1 million or $2 million, the rest of this money would potentially be requested from the Met Council, or as much as what it is. I can't remember what the maximum amount is right now, but we would be requesting that.
How much do these grants, I mean, like, what are we asking for in these grants, and what is the potential, how much is there potential to get?
I do not know that number off the top of my head. So this is, I'm going off the information the TMO kind of group is giving us, so.
They didn't give us that?
I'm thinking it's millions.
Yeah, I could look it up quick, but it's definitely millions of dollars. I don't know if it would be for the whole $11 million or what it would be, but this would be to write the grants for those two grant programs.
Why does it cost $12,000 to write 2 grants?
That was the estimate given to the group by their consultants. SRF.
I mean, that seems ridiculous.
I've seen other grant writers. I think that's actually pretty typical.
That seems even more ridiculous that this is the standard.
Well, the other thing, if you work with and I haven't worked with a professional grant writer, but I've been told that they know the nuances and they know how to put in the grant application to get higher scores, and that's what will get you up in the running, if you will. So if they're really professional at this and have done this for quite a while, then they know what actually the grant, how to get the grant, put it that way better. We were told when we were at the meeting it might be around 12,000, so I'm surprised it's now at 15 to write the grant.
That's the other question. If it costs 12,000, why do they want 15?
I think this is just an estimate. They probably don't know quite exactly.
Yeah, so it says, note the differences between the grant amount and the total contributions, assumes a variation in participation and provides support for continued Trunk Highway 7 activity. So if somebody on the list doesn't participate, there's a little bit of a buffer in there.
Okay. So then the remaining dollars would be split accordingly to go back to the cities, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might be less than 600. But it's not a lot to spend hoping
It seems
to get
ridiculous.
millions.
But, and again, the $11 million this is going for projects won't benefit us, or in the one case we don't want.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, no, because he said the $11 million would go towards the Christmas Lake 41 and Wildwood, and we don't want what they're proposing for Wildwood.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they don't necessarily will do Wildwood if they got more money.
Yeah,
They might do the Wildwood Hunters Trail.
Right, but the current plan for Wildwood is not what we want.
if I may, so I've had a lot of conversations with Kyle, who was just here, about this, and when we submitted the information for the safety study, the Bull property and that property wasn't even on the radar. So now it is. That changes things. If there's a desire to put a roundabout in that area, they would be open to those conversations. They just need to happen in the next 6 months.
Or less, yeah.
Or less.
Yeah.
So, and then also I think this stemmed from a Mayor Whalen question. If there is a funding gap for some of these things in Minnetrista, the MSA dollars can be used on trunk highway stuff. So there's some of that as well to consider. But this is would cover most of it, right? We don't have that much in MSA dollars for these projects.
So like, in other words, let's just say we wanted the roundabout at Wildwood and Hunters Trail. We wanted that to be connected, and it's $4 million. And they say, well, we don't have that much. How much do you have? Maybe we can take our MSA dollars, 500,000 or something. I'm just using that as an example. So we can put a carrot out there too. And I think that's, I think that's part of the negotiations. And like you said earlier, maybe what we need to do, and I don't know if we'll have that meeting tomorrow, I'll talk about that a little bit, but if we have that meeting tomorrow with St. Bonnie, we can say, hey, why don't we put a letter together and send it to MnDOT that this is really what we want. So scrap the 92 and figure out if we can do the Wildwood and Hunters Trail one. So I think there's negotiating power there. But I also think it's really good to see if we can't get more dollars, because if they get $0 from the state in bonding money, then nothing happens. And
Well,
if
that's not true. They have $48 million to do stuff with.
they're not
Also
going to
seems like
do
a
what
ridiculous
we want them to
money.
do. But, so I'm just saying for $600 investment for a potential of millions, it's a good gamble.
I would like to point out that I will be paying for it as a Minnetrista resident, as a Hennepin County resident, and as a West Tonka Public Schools paying person. So I will be paying for this in 3 buckets.
If I may too, I have an answer on how much we can apply for, and it's up to 25 million for each application. So
Okay.
we would be able to apply for the entire amount of the 11 million
Or more.
or more.
See, we could ask for more.
Yeah, why wouldn't we ask for more?
Yeah, so that they can do the
And
roundabouts
then
that we want.
who's writing these grants? Who's the TMO using?
Yeah, SRF,
SRF, yeah.
which is an engineering group that's been, when they went through the RFQ process to hire an engineering group to kind of guide the formation of the TMO, that's who they chose.
Yeah.
Are they good? Allison, do you know anything about that?
SRF is certainly a renowned engineering firm, particularly when it comes to transportation projects, so
Yeah,
I would venture to guess that you're in good hands with them.
I don't like this.
Okay.
I don't like spending money to get our own money back to fix roads that that I'm already paying for and paying for and paying for.
Well, the thing is we won't get any money if we don't try. So, I mean, that's the thing. If we don't do the grant application, this is additional funds. So they have the 46, whatever. So we're asking for additional funds. And if we don't do this, then we don't get any additional funds.
Well, I mean, but ultimately, we don't have any say in anything anyways. We can get the money from MnDOT and they can do whatever they want with it. It's not like it's earmarked that they have to put in this roundabout here or do this at this spot, correct? Like we ultimately have no control over what MnDOT decides to do with Highway 7.
Well,
Ultimately, though.
Well, I don't think that's entirely the case. I think they want to hear back from the local government units. So if we want a roundabout at Wildwood versus a 3/4 intersection, I think they're going to listen to us, especially if we go through the process of getting money to pay for it. Then I think I can't speak for them, but I think that would move the needle on that project or that part of that project.
and like I said, if you have another community that's really, pushing for that as well, you have a better chance. And I know St. Bonnie is interested in something happening at Wildwood. And yeah, I think, like I said, we have a few carrots out there that we can dangle. So I think it's worth it. All right. Brian?
I think it's worth it too. I've had good experiences with grant writing organizations helping get money. I think it will give us some carrots with the DOT. And, while we don't have direct control over it, I do think that the fact that even they were here tonight seems that they're interested in hearing what we're saying and
I think they are,
have
yeah.
some influence. So I would be in support of it.
Okay. So 2 against 1? Sorry. So go ahead.
Made no secret that I'm opposed to giving any money towards this project.
If you wanted to do a vote, you sure could.
Okay, so all those in favor of spending $600 towards the grant writing? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. All right, you got it? All right.
Did someone need to make a motion?
No. Did you want a motion?
Because we skipped the motion.
Skip the motion part.
Sure. Yeah, I can't make the motion. One of you
Okay,
all.
then I made the motion to spend the 600, and Brian seconded it, and the vote was 2-1. All right. Thank you. Thank you for keeping on track here. All right. So next, we'll move on to staff reports.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council, we have a couple of events, or actually quite a few events coming up here. We have Trista Day coming up on the 13th. Which is May 13th, sorry, which is a Wednesday, which is a new thing here. I think everybody's aware. There's a lot of information on our website and social media about it. We also have State of the City, which is on Tuesday. May
Not
4th.
Thursday.
Not Thursday.
Tuesday.
So, and we've gotten out a lot of information just clarifying that it's on a Tuesday and not a Thursday, but it is on May 4th at
5th.
Or May 5th.
May
Sorry.
5th?
The
Tuesday?
council meeting's on May 4th.
5th.
Yeah, I'm messing this up already, I'm sorry. We have a council meeting on May 4th, and then the State of the City's on May 5th on Tuesday.
Right. And then cleanup day is
It's May 2nd, Saturday. May
second
2nd,
Saturday,
yeah.
right?
Just loading May up here, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. But hey, then we get it all over with. No.
Yeah, and then we have the bus tour on
June 6th,
June 6th?
I think it is.
No, June 2nd, I believe.
June 6th is a Saturday.
Tuesday.
So Tuesday the 2nd.
Okay.
Tuesday the 2nd. So there's information if you're, we haven't posted the availability for that yet, but it fills up quick. So once we do sign up and,
I did put it online, so.
okay, so it is posted, so it's a free game. We have, I think,
All right.
60 or so seats.
First come.
And then lastly, we need somebody for the planning commission meeting. There is a meeting coming up at the end of this month,
What's the date?
27th.
27th?
27th.
I think I can do it. 27th, Monday. Okay, I'll do it.
That's all I have.
All right. I'll give a report real quick. So we're supposed to have just kind of a follow-up regarding our strategic or our duo council with St. Bonnie. We were directed to have some fire talks directly with St. Bonnie, and hopefully we'll have that tomorrow. There's some question about health. Some people are sick, so we might not be able to have it, but if we do, it'll be tomorrow, and then we will update you on the process of that. And then also tomorrow, are you going? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Kathleen and I and Jasper will be going and looking and maybe approving the colors or of the water treatment plant. Exciting, exciting. And then, of course, in the Public Safety Committee we had with St. Bonnie, and that went very well. We talked about a lot of things. Craig does a wonderful job on that front. And then the Northwest Hennepin League of Municipalities is coming up. In May, we're going to host the candidates, all of the candidates, which is many, for kind of for Hennepin County Attorney. So prosecuting attorney. So Mary Moriarty is not running again. Won't say anything. And so there's lots of people in that field running, and we'll just be, they can give us their spiel, And then what else was there? League of Minnesota Cities, Watershed, Mound Fire Advisory. The committee those meetings have been canceled, maybe June. We might have a meeting. It's the para or the fire relief or the retirement funds that are holding everything up, and that might not be able to be resolved, and so probably won't be able to be resolved. But anyhow, we're still in good hands with both, with Mound and with St. Bonnie. They're excellent fire departments, and they cover our community very well. Having said that, I think that's it. Oh, I did have for Northwest League, it was the person from Hennepin County that's in Public Works, and there's going to be some mill and overlay, but minor work in our community this year. So they did some work last year, but this year we have some mill and overlays. And you can go on their website. I think it shows on their website. Okay, with that, anybody else? No. All right. Well, then we can be adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Brian. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. We'll be back soon.
In a couple weeks.